And we are live. Welcome into the first edition of the Low Post podcast for the winter 2019 season and the first edition on Google Hangout. I'm Tyler Krusz. I know you can't see my face. What a shame. But I'm here with Brian Heston and Joey Zacco.
And just rolled out of bed.
Yeah, I just got back from the gym and just looking a little ugly. So I decided that put some tape over my camera, make sure the FBI agents couldn't see me. But a very exciting week one, I thought. A lot of new teams. Brian, you guys looked really good.
Get to see all the new teams this week, which is good. Didn't get to see every team, though, but we get to see all the new ones.
That's why we have Joey here, because we didn't get to see the halfway crooks. Nobody else got to see the halfway crooks, so we have a little insider here to help us out, tell us how they are. But I think much of the same this year from the halfway crooks, right, Joey? What are we expecting?
Yeah, much of the same, but also a big new addition in Brett Cody, who reached out to me Wednesday night and is like, I'm excited to play. So, you know what they say, everybody looks good in that purple and silver. So Brett Cody is going to be a good fit. I've seen him on winning teams, and Brian can attest to this. And I mean, Krusz can too. There's a couple different kinds of players. And so sometimes players are good because they need the ball. And so the team may not be good, but a player's going to thrive. Then there's players who are good and they fit on good teams with other good players. And so I've seen Brett Cody in those situations where, they're going to – the team's going to play around him. He's going to fit right in and everything should be good to go, and he's going to be a great addition for us.
Yeah, for sure. I know when you told me that you guys are picking him up, I was kind of scared because the halfway crooks are always a pretty solid team. Despite always being the 6th seed, you guys always were a tough team to play in the playoffs. And to add Brett Cody, it's definitely a huge pickup. I remember my first Legacy Leagues game ever was against him, and he put up 48 against us. We got the win, but I remember we were just sitting there like, this guy is good.
I mean, if we're speaking of new additions, Brian, that kid on your team is really good, and
Campbell,
I think he helps Campbell. Yeah, he helps a lot for you guys because I mean, I said it on the post game show. You just look at your and Gino's shooting percentage last night compared to a lot of the times, not last night, compared to a lot of the times last year. And Gino shot over 60%. I mean, that's just –
Yeah, there were a lot of games. Gino and I are forced to take a bunch of bad shots, and having another ball handler, another distributor out there. And our role guys are great distributors too. Jared had 6 assists, I know. But just having another ball handler really helps out. Helps us out and helps score more, helps Gino and I shoot better. So it works out for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, takes the attention off of you guys and kind of really spreads the floor. He's got a really good dribble drive. Mm-hmm. You mentioned your role players being good passers. I think Brad might be one of the most underrated passers on your team.
Yeah,
I mean, he had that little no-look behind the back the other week.
Exactly.
I mean, I have no idea where it came from. But
Brad senses a double team and knows where
he's like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So you guys got the first look at the Duhays boys.
Yeah,
after the social media hype. So what did you think of them from a firsthand experience playing against them?
So about the social media thing, like we honestly didn't really want to get into a social media war
but you guys
with them.
Completely ended them last night.
Yeah. I mean, what happened was they started tweeting at us, and it was like we were like, all right, well, they're either going to be absolutely filthy or they're going to be like a little like worse than us. We weren't really sure. We didn't think it would be a close game. We think it kind of be either way, and we figured since it was their first game on 8.5 that we'd probably have an advantage in that department. And then when we got out there, we knew we could beat them, and then we ended up beating them by 25, which is good for us. But they definitely have some talent. Like they're not going to be the bottom of the league. I'm looking at the box score now. The kid John
Kutu.
Yeah, he really impressed me. And they have other guys who are confident in shooting the ball. So I imagine that with that confidence, they're probably good shooters on 10-foot. They just haven't adjusted to 8.5.
Yeah, and I played with Jordan Lugo for a lot of my childhood, and he's a good shooter, quick player, good ball handler.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna just adjust to he's kind of like, I think his name was Sonny on the Wild Hogs last year, where you could tell he was a good player. He just didn't start off shooting very well. I think that's gonna end up like Jordan. And I do think that they're not going to be the worst team in the league, but I think they'll be maybe like middle of pack, end of the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think they could. Yeah, they could definitely be a pretty solid. They could be a team that sticks around in this league. Sometimes with these new teams, you see them not really stick around after a season. But that being said, with the whole social media thing, it was kind of weird because they were tweeting at us, and we were kind of out of the trash talking game because a few seasons ago we were talking trash to people like Boom and Prestige, and it didn't end up well for us. We're like, yeah, this isn't us. But then and that's what I was telling them after. I was saying, yeah, you don't really want to come into a league and start coming at all these teams because it really kicks it into another gear for them, especially us. I feel like we play a lot better than we normally do because we had that motivation where they were saying, oh, we're a one-man team, which obviously wasn't the case.
Hey guys, you can't trash talk if your team doesn't have a Twitter, right? I'm thinking of it. There's no motivating going on. There's no team Twitter, right? I'm ahead of you guys. I got you.
I mean,
Joe, you run the whole league Twitter. I think you
trash on trash. You talk trash in the game though, so that's different. I know Dylan always is running his mouth, which is good. I love playing against him because I always think he makes it interesting.
I love seeing trash talk in the games. My favorite might have been Shane Patrick.
Yeah,
I would love to see him back in the legacy leagues.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like having him for one game last summer was like a really weird. Like,
I forgot about that.
Like it's almost like Iverson on like the Grizzlies. Like
they're gonna make it 30 for 30 on Shane Patrick's time with the Werewolves.
Yeah, so exactly.
Besides your game, we got the Skyhookers back. Skyhookers Boom Shakalaka, and that game really surprised me. I didn't see it, but I was looking at the box score, and Boom was down in the first quarter, 21-15, and they had to play from behind. They only had a 4-point lead at the half, and then that turned into a 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter, which was then cut to an 8-point lead at the end of the game. So a little back and forth action from Boom, and I know they called me out on Twitter for this, but I don't really care. They can call me out all they want. I think they need to find their identity again. I mean, they lost two of their best players from last season, two of their three best players, if you want to throw Belleville in there, because he was just lighting up the scoreboards at the end of the season. But I mean, they need to find their identity, I think.
Yeah. So you didn't get to watch this game, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really haven't seen the Skyhookers that much because you weren't here season one. But from my remembrance, Brendan O'Donnell kind of had an off game. He had 4 for 15, 11 points, which if you remember season one, Joey, he was putting up 20 to 30 a game for them. So if that was the case this week, then Boom would have been in trouble, that's for sure. And they still have Kevin Redmond, who had 0 points. I remember he was a force down low. So they need to find their identity. I think they'll be fine. But Boom, it's definitely a different Boom team that we have this year. So I don't know how to rate them yet.
Yeah, I like Cole Ferguson, man. He did the post-game interview. He had a big dunk. He's going to be a nice fit for them. He's their second or third best player, which I think is a problem. I think if they had Nate and Trevor and he was their fourth or fifth best player, I think we'd be having a different conversation. But the Skyhookers, Brendan O'Donnell, he made, I think on Snapchat, he made his first 2 threes or 2 of his first 3 and then didn't make another 3. And so just like you mentioned, they go as he goes. And when he shoots better, which he will, they're going to get in that rhythm and be one of those teams that'll be competing week in and week out. But I think both of those teams are right in the middle, and it's going to be interesting to look back at that game 4, 5, 6 weeks from now and be like, oh yeah, that game actually made sense from what these teams actually are.
Yeah, Cole, he's definitely a baller. Like Gino and I know him. Like everyone on our team knows him because he used to be from Scituate, so we all know his game. So yeah, he's definitely a real good player and a nice pickup for Boom too. When you told me that they had him, I was very surprised and intrigued because that's a different dynamic than having Stitchell or having D'Amico out there to complement Lucas Martin and Belleville. So it's definitely interesting.
It's really hard, in my opinion, to mention Boom without mentioning the Joker to their Batman. So let's just move right on to the Lob City game. I don't really think much of a rivalry this year between the two, but Lob City, just a typical Lob City game, if you were to say. 97 points, hot start, unreal on defense, only gave up 7 points in the first quarter.
Yep.
I mean, just what did you expect?
So one thing that I noticed when I was looking at the score, Vic had 31, I believe, right?
Yep.
I know the
Vic or Emmanuel Tutu.
Yeah.
Nope. So that was Vic. Yeah, they were playing musical jerseys. So that is Vic for sure.
Yep.
You gotta love that.
What I was gonna say is he shot 5 for 9 from 3, 55.6%. And I was looking at it earlier. Vic is a career like around 30% from three shooter. So if he can add that element of the three ball to his game, it makes him, if not already in the MVP conversation, but now elevates him into that MVP conversation early on. But the only problem is that when Cody is there, Vic's numbers go down, which isn't a bad thing because they obviously still win. But it's just a matter of Vic and Cody sharing the ball as opposed to Vic running his own team, which he does when Cody isn't there.
And if you ask Vic, I'm pretty sure he really doesn't mind that his numbers go down when Cody's there. But that's exactly what I was going to bring up. I'm glad I let you finish because I would have looked like a complete jerk. But 5 for 9 from three. I don't think he shoots 9 threes if Cody's there. I think Cody shoots 21 threes if Cody's there.
Yeah, but even if he goes like 3 for 6 every game, he's shooting 50%, and he isn't typically like that as a player in this league. So
and it helps him a lot because I mean you saw him get the ball at the top of the arc, and the other team was yelling shooter. And I mean I've watched Vic play for a couple of years. Vic really isn't a shooter. He's a guy that's going to put the ball on the floor, get by you physically, and then dunk over your big man's head. Like that's what he does.
Pick you up full court.
Yeah, and then pick you up right after he's done clapping at the camera or something. I mean, that's what they do. And I think after watching this game and looking at the scores of the other games, I really don't see a team that stands in the way of Lob City. Maybe Brian, maybe you guys. That would be my number 2 team in this league right now. I haven't seen Swish or the Halfway Crooks, Joey. I see you shaking your head.
I was gonna say I think through week 1, it would look like Lob, and then probably us and Boom are right there behind them, but you have to wonder where Halfway and Swish fall into that category because they're somewhere in there, and we haven't seen them yet. And obviously they're going to be good because they've been good in the past. We don't know who Swish has, to be honest.
Right.
Tyler Barbosa doesn't even know who's on his team.
It's the element of surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Halfway Crooks and Swish, I'm sure. To piggyback off Brian's point really quick, it's very interesting that team, for them always playing together in Lob City, to not have figured out, at least in the legacy leagues, how to get an effective Cody game and a Max Vic game like at the same time. We haven't seen that a lot. That's because they both are similar. Like they like having the ball, running the show, and doing their sort of thing. But it's interesting that they haven't gotten that both to happen at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, you've seen usually one guy goes for maybe 30, 40, 50, and then everybody else is in the 20s, all the other like star players. I think you can get a Vic's you can use Vic at his maximum like potential and Cody at their maximum potential at the same exact time. And I don't think Vic's max potential has anything to do with his 3-point shot. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with his defense, his rebounding, the way he kind of demands attention from the defense on the floor, whether Cody's there or not.
And the whole element of Joey Coro being on that team now is something interesting to watch because they replaced Darius with him. Obviously, I'm not happy that Joey Bones, from a competitive standpoint, went and joined them.
I mean, he kind of had to. His team was in crumbles, and Lob City asked.
Honestly, I'm going to put the blame on Boom because they're shorthanded, and they definitely could have used Joey Bones. Not that
they should have reached out.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if they reached out or not, but I think Boom could have used him. I don't know who they have for big men. I know they have Dellor D'Amico, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think Jeremy's his name or something.
Yeah. Yep. But I think Joey Bones would have fit perfectly into that team. But who knows what happened there or if they even reached out to him or thought about it. But
I bet you around week 5 we see Nate Stitchell strolling into the Johnston Rec Center 5 minutes after his game started.
Yeah, Boom, 3-2 or 4-1 record, and then hit the panic button and call in Nate.
Yeah, or somebody.
Yeah, that could happen, but I don't know if that will happen. I think Belleville is pretty content, and Lucas and Cole are all pretty content with playing a lot of minutes and not being.
I think we're gonna see a 50-point. That's my hot take. I think without Stitchell, we're gonna see a 50-point game from Lucas Martin this year.
Really?
This season, yeah, he'll have at least one.
Because it's not next week because we play him.
He's if you remember the I think the packages on NBA 2K, he's a microwave.
Yeah,
I mean the guy hits 2 shots and he's got the little fire thing next to his name, and he can just hit from anywhere, and that's really what he is. But so we've done all 3 other games.
Yep. And that I'm gonna head out. It's
yeah, you gotta go to class, man. Go get your education. Go get that.
So
bye, Brian.
Have a good one, Brian.
I trust
any last thoughts?
To go. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to next week against Boom because I think it'll be a really good game. And I leave the podcast in you guys' hands to finish up without me. So
I'm honored.
Good luck, guys. Thank you.
All right, see you, buddy. So, Joey.
Yes.
We did 3 games with Brian.
Now that Brian's gone, we can say what we really want to say, right?
Yeah, and
what a terrible player Brian Heston is, right?
Completely should not have gotten those 3 Defensive Player of the Awards. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Great player. But so we go on to the Alaskan Bullworms and the Pizza Rolls. Probably my 2 favorite team names, but I don't know how well that's going to translate to how these teams are going to do. And I didn't see that game, but just looking at really the score of it and the box score of it, it didn't really look like a very good game.
So, in Legacy League standards, not a ton of highlights, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, in someone's first game, it's tough. There's definitely an adjustment, and so both teams were adjusting on the fly. But Alaskan Bullworms came out slow, and talk about adjusting. Single-digit points in that first quarter.
4.
And then 4. Yeah, so to be specific, there you go. And then really came out and turned it around and were able to get the win. And so it was like a tied game heading into the 4th or early in the 4th, right around there. And then they really made the plays down the stretch and were getting buckets and were executing and kind of taking advantage of their size, while the Pizza Rolls, I would say for the last 3-4 minutes, were coming down and shooting threes. And if that's your game, that's awesome. They just weren't falling. And so that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to win games when shots aren't falling.
Yeah, and the Pizza Rolls took almost 43s, and that's kind of reminiscent of, I mean, I would say the Houston Rockets in the playoffs when they basically shot themselves out of that game. But I wanted to bring up Aaron Morrell in his Legacy League's debut. How many people do you see put up 20 in their Legacy League's debut while shooting so efficient from the floor? I mean, it seemed like he didn't really need an adjustment period. 9 for 14. Most of his, all of his points coming from the inside, I should say. 2 free throws and just 12 rebounds. And he really was the reason that the Bullworms were able to win that game.
Yeah, and he was effective, like you talked about. I think going forward, not that I want to be on the right or wrong side, but I don't know how many more 20-point games he's going to have, just in the sense of now people are ready for him. They're going to be able to know he's one of their key players, and teams are going to come into games trying to stop him. And so we'll see how we adjust. I mean, that's what this whole thing is about. And so the good players are able to adjust and still get their points and help their team win. And lesser players struggle with that. And there's an adjustment period, like I talked about. And so we'll see what he does in future weeks. But a great week 1, that's in the books. That's locked in. And so credit to him for that. And he was a big part on why they were able to get the win.
Yeah, and you mentioned the adjustment period. I also think that he's going to slow down because he played the Pizza Rolls. I mean, that might be...
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, that might be his... I mean, they're reminiscent of the Average Joes, Shake and Bake. I think that may be the Alaskan Bullworms' easiest game, so to say. I mean, I didn't see the Pizza Rolls play. They could figure it out. I know they have a few scorers. They had a couple of guys in double digits. But the Pizza Rolls really undersized compared to the Bullworms, and the Bullworms aren't too big as well. I mean, the Skyhookers are big, halfway crooks are big, the Swish Kebabs are big. So I think he was able to take advantage of the size, and that's why he was so well at scoring on the inside. But we'll have to see how it translates when he plays a team that's experienced. And I mentioned this in the post-game show. I think the experienced teams are kind of going to run away with the top half of the league this year.
Yep. And so heading into week 2, that's always the adjustment. And they took advantage of their size in week 1, and we'll see what happens in week 2.
Yeah, and you mentioned week 2. We'll preview that real quick. Boom Shakalaka versus the Werewolves. And that should be an interesting one because Boom always had, I would say, the upper hand over the Werewolves the last couple seasons, but now without Stitchell and D'Amico and the Werewolves addition of Campbell, I think they could pull away with that one. I think that's going to be one of the toughest games for Boom early on in the season.
I agree. The matchups are going to be super interesting on who Heston guards. Dave Campbell, can he do it again? And it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the better games of the season.
I have to ask you this. Do you think it's I mean, I know it's early to say this, but do you think it's not must win, but how important is this game for Boom Shakalaka? Close game week 1. If they lose to the Werewolves week 2, they have to go on and play Lob City week 3, where if they could fall under 500 for probably the first time in a while.
Yep.
And you look at it, and it's a blessing and a curse, because the Werewolves and Lob City may be the 2 hardest games that Boom Shakalaka plays.
Well, that's just rude. But it is a must-win for Boom Shakalaka. For them to get one of those top. Well, the top 6 teams get a bye, and that's what I was looking. So I think they'll still be a top 16.
Yeah,
but matchups are going to be huge come playoffs.
And so you only play each team once.
Right. And so this will be their one time against the Werewolves, and I think it could be a tiebreaker come playoffs. So it's going to be a huge game.
Do you think it's a bigger game for Boom Shakalaka or the Werewolves? I mean, after week 3, Boom then plays the Boston Blazers, the Pizza Rolls, you guys week 6. That should be another very good one. Like I said, the experienced teams. And then they play the Dujays Boys week 7 and the Alaskan Bullworms week 8. So, I mean, after this beginning stretch, I mean, you take out that halfway Crooks game, and it's kind of an easy ride for Boom. I mean, I don't want to disrespect any of the other teams, but I've seen Boom play before. They know how to play. They know how to win in this league. So, I think if they can pull ahead from this Werewolves game, I think it'll help them out a lot in the playoffs. And same with the Werewolves. I mean, this is an equally as big game.
Yep, every team plays everybody, and so the order obviously is big for momentum. But I think it's an equally big game. I think both teams are come in ready to go, I don't think it's bigger for either team. I think both teams know what it means, and should make for good stuff on the court.
All right, so next up is Lob City versus the Dujays Boys. I don't even know if I want to break that one down. I think Lob City is gonna run away with that, but I think if Dujays Boys can kind of use their size, I mean, they have some bigger guys. There's no Darius this year. They could try to get an advantage on the boards. I mean, they'd have to really box out Joey Coro, but I could see PJ doing that. He's kind of a similar in build. But I just think that the Dujays Boys have their hands full. I mean, not only are they transitioning and kind of figuring out the league, they have to do it while playing like a super team.
Yep, and whoever made the schedule did them no favors. I mean, welcome to the league. There's 2, ready to go teams that know what they're doing in this league. But
well, I mean,
it's going to be a good test.
The schedule maker, I mean, I don't know who he is, but I could have done them a favor. Because you look at it, and after they play the Werewolves and they play Lob City. Those are 2 of probably the 4 best teams in the league, 5 best teams in the league, right off the bat. So I mean, the rest of your season, other than probably Switch Kebabs, halfway Crooks, Boom Shakalaka, you can kind of relax and work on figuring yourself out and getting all those kinks worked out before playoffs, when everything matters that much more.
Yeah, and I mean, you play every team, so the first season's always tough for new teams, and being thrown in the fire is better. It gets you more ready for the playoffs, to be honest. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they do this week.
Yeah, they're learning how to swim by getting tossed into the pool. So then,
there you go.
I'm just going in order here on the schedule. You guys make your debut of the Winter 19 season versus the Pizza Rolls. So, I mean, doing yourself a favor there, maybe, but how are the halfway Crooks going to come out this year? You said you have a new addition. Is it going to be the same strategy? We're going to bully you guys with our size, and then Jared Hansen might be able to take over, swing it to you for the 3-point shot. What's it going to be like?
Yeah, so we were supposed to open with the Swish Kebab, so no favors were done there.
That's a great game. Those were some great games last year.
So exactly. So Pizza Rolls, it's going to be an interesting game for us, getting used to all the new pieces. But Wilbur returns, John Sline, Dylan, Justin Kalenda's back from 2 seasons ago, Jared Hansen and Brett Cody. And so, you haven't seen Brett Cody. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun, man. And Brett, we do have the size, which I like. We can go big if we have to. We also have in Brett Cody another player who can really guard anybody. I wouldn't say he's Brian Heston, but he's very similar. Long, can shoot, can drive, can defend multiple positions, rebounds, and like I mentioned before, knows his role on a winning team. So, he'll get his 9 points, 7 rebounds, 5 steals, 3 blocks, and be totally happy. And that's what I think is going to make him a good fit and make it a more seamless transition than other teams when they add new players. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get out there.
So you think he's going to be like the Robin to Hanson's Batman? So to speak?
I think they're gonna fit very well. I don't even. At times they may flip flop roles. You've seen Jared get passive at times, and both guys
also
just want to
seen
win.
him very aggressive. Yeah,
right. And both guys just want to win. So.
Every year, I think you guys are one of the teams that give Lob City kind of a run because of your size, and you always match up very well with them from the size. With the new addition, what do you think your ceiling is for this Halfway Crooks team?
I'm not about to poke the bear. That's not what I'm on here for.
I'm not asking if you guys can beat Lob City, but I mean, what do you think your ceiling is? Top 3 team in the league, top 2? Where do you see yourselves?
Yeah, so definitely top 3, top 2. I mean, Jared and I talked last year. We wanted Lob City over Boom. We just always matched up better with Lob City, and Boom would always kill us. To your point, so it is the size. It's we played them close last year, and by close, I mean 15, 17 points is close for Lob City.
And I remember Jared saying that he'd rather guard Cody than Stitchell, which I probably completely agree with last year. That made a lot of sense.
Right. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I'm glad we play every team, and we'll get to see where we stack up. But I like our chances, man. I like our best 4. And I think that's what every team is hopefully trying to find.
The best.
Doesn't matter who starts. It's who's in there with 5 minutes to go in a tied game. And I like our 4 a lot.
Yeah, and I don't blame you at all. And that'll bring us to the next game. And yeah, I do think, I mean, if Brett Cody's as good as you and Brian say he is, I do think the Halfway Crooks could compete for a championship, possibly. I don't want to anger anybody. I don't want to overshoot you guys, but I mean, I've always said it on the podcast that you guys probably match up with Lob City the best of anyone in the league because of the size, and you just needed an extra star to go along with Hanson. And I mean, if Cody gives you that, then I think you guys are there. So then we have the Swish Kebabs Boston Blazers. As Brian said, we don't know what the Swish Kebabs are this year, but I'm sure they'll be good because they always are a very competitive team. Barbosa's a great leader, a great point guard. He really knows how to make players into winning players. And I think they will have not an easy time with the Boston Blazers because the Blazers do have some size. They do have some ballers. We saw that against Lob City in minimal amounts because they played Lob City. But I think the Swish Kebabs will take this one and start off their season 1-0. Just because of the experience of Barbosa and the other guys that he brings around him.
Yep, and so the Blazers were without their captain, Rob Boynton, so they'll get him back and he'll make his debut. So that's another wild card. But Ellis Einhorn makes his debut. Shout out there. So
he's got some hype.
Yeah, some hype. Yes, not hype, some hype. But yeah, so I think it's going to be very interesting. The Swish Kebabs are used to playing with each other. And so we'll see. I mean, I would expect Swish to win, but I think that could be a good draw.
And with Swish, you see them really start hot every year. So I would be shocked if they don't. I mean, they started 4-0 their first year in the league and then kind of dropped off. Last year they started very hot, had some tough games with the Halfway Crooks mid-season. But, I mean, otherwise a very good team. And then I think I'll take the Skyhookers over the Alaskan Bullworms just because I trust you and Brian as analysts. I've never seen either of the teams play, but I'm going to go with what the consensus has been saying. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think Brendan O'Donnell gets on track. I think he has a huge game, and I think the Skyhookers make a statement. Not the Shyhookers, as their jerseys read way back when, but the Skyhookers. I agree. I think they get back on track.
Speaking of the jerseys, I really like the new ones. They look comfortable. Gino was wondering if he could dry them or not. Can they throw them in the dryer, the players?
They're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to be dried? Okay.
They've all been notified, so we'll see.
Breaking news. We'll see if any of them forgot and listened to this. But that's bringing us towards the end of the first Low Post podcast. And now I feel like I'm in your seat because you're usually asking me these questions. But what was your first impression of week 1 of this session?
I think it's going to be 3 or 4 teams in contention. I think Lob City is still the favorite, and I think teams 5 through 10 are all going to be interchangeable. And I think it's going to make for a fun season. I think week in, week out, we're going to have close games, and it's going to make for a fun playoffs come March.
Yeah, and I agree. I just don't see any mobility in the league. Like you said, 5 through 10 are all going to be interchangeable. They're going to be interchangeable, but I don't think you'll be able to put 5 through 10 anywhere in 1 through 4. I don't think we'll see that moving up. But yeah, that'll do it for the Low Post podcast from Joey Zacco. This is Tyler Krusz signing off. Keep it locked here on thelegacyleagues.com, and we'll see you Wednesday night at the Johnston Rec Center.